Hello, welcome everyone back to another episode of Energy Unleashed. My name is Suzanne, and here is Kim. Hey, girl,
Hello.
how you doing?
Ready to go. What do you
Yeah.
got for me today, Suzanne? What do you got?
Actually, I think this is going to be really a good one for you because it's actually something that you deal with or have dealt with and continue to deal with. Want to go into kind of a tough subject in terms of like lineage clearing,
Mm.
DNA clearing, past life clearings, etc. And I think we could talk about this 1,000 times and still learn something because it's pretty intricate, energetically, it's pretty intricate. But I want to start with the concept of there's so much, how do I want to word this? There's so much releasing right now around the concept of the womb, women's suffering, women's violence for eons, the difficulties of just abusive nature of how women have been treated, the rapes, the everything for eons and eons and eons. And this is really releasing in a huge, not even just a collective way. I think it's a multi-universal way in terms of this has been around since the beginning of God knows what, right? I mean, eons and eons of putting women into a place where the male is patriarchal over her, where he is got more power. And I don't care if we're talking politics or day to day or whatever. What has happened then is it's gone into family lineage, meaning there's been many, many, many generations of abuse for women. And because the karmic wheel was so messed up for so long, and the patriarchy took the woman quotient out. So I want to start at the beginning. When there is a holographic universe built, everything works in gender principle, male and female, male and female. Male and female together makes the child energy. So the father God, mother God makes the child God energy. That's how things create. Mother God energy got taken out of our so-called holographic kind of instruction set eons ago because this is what created the male God, the male patriarchy, the male son of Jesus. Everything was male, 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 and the woman frequency got taken out. This was a nefarious agenda on purpose because the woman holds, the frequency of the woman holds compassion, forgiveness, empathy, emotion, feel. Okay. Whereas the child is the action, the father is the thought. So when we take out emotion and feel, we can be very programmed in a nefarious agenda with our thoughts that then make our actions do what they want your thoughts to do. Are you following? If we
Mhm.
take emotion into that quotient, it's all of a sudden you thinking this and you say, yeah, but I don't feel that. So my action might change. So this was taken out of the so-called holographic instruction set eons ago, which then turned into the woman is lesser, which then turned into abuse, which then turned into et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Does that make some sense?
Well, yes, because I've heard you speak about this before,
It's
but
big. It's
it's
big,
big.
right?
It's really big. I think I guess the removal of the mother God frequency, is it that the frequencies now is coming back in that is creating this
Change.
little change? Okay.
Yes, yes. So the mother God frequency came back into the so-called matrix or into the instruction set about 5 years ago. So this is what's been shaking up the patriarchal construction of everything. We're starting to see patriarchy show its ugly side. We're starting to see how women are treated. We're starting to see, ritual abuse kinds of things. We're starting to see all kinds of things, and we're seeing women coming forward and being either even shut down more for it or getting acknowledged for it. It's all over the board, right? So when we bring this Mother God frequency back, we're starting to see the ugliness of the nefarious agenda. And that's where we're in the middle of right now.
Okay.
Okay. So this is still unveiling itself. Women's rights. Think of politics right now. Think of the mess between church and politics with women's rights even there. I
Mhm.
mean, it's just messy. And so when this is happening, there is a lot of old wound coming back from womb, meaning the creator is the woman's womb, the body in terms of that frequency, Mother God, creator. I'm taking my planet even back. Mother God is coming into the earth itself saying, this is not acceptable. Our earth is being destroyed. Our earth is this, that, and the other thing. So our planet is even coming online because the mother energies and the womb and the rebirthing is activating sacred sites, portals, ley lines, all kinds of things. So our Schumann resonance is off the charts because our actual globe is changing. I mean, it's fascinating. This is a really big subject, and we're just kind of doing footnotes, but hopefully it'll make some sense here. And that when all of these changes happen, we as individuals will have the need to release anything that no longer serves us in terms of womb wounding in
Mhm.
our lineage. So anybody that is having trouble right now in terms of releasing things like I'm not heard, I'm not seen, I'm lesser, you're a woman, narcissism, I mean, enslavement, all of these things are coming forward like crazy for us to release. And it is imperative that we start to understand that I get to release this stuff, not only on behalf of my incarnation in this lifetime, but when I do this release with no strings attached, what happens is it goes through a chain of energy all the way back up to lineage. And this is a hard thing for people to understand. Lineage is my biology, my family, where this wound of abuse or sexual abuse or rape or lesser or not being heard, all of these things included, will come down through the karma of my lineage. Okay. It
Yep.
will be in my cell structure and my soul contracts. And because the energies are changing so much right now, we are able to offer bigger release than we have ever had before because we are able to find bigger energetic planes of existence from our past lives, our future lives, our biology, our family lineage lives, etc. This has never been available to us before. And only in the last 3 to 4 years are these opening up so that if I do the work, it goes all the way up the corporate ladder of sorts of creation, all the way back to my lineage. So this is tough. I
It's
know.
big.
I
Ah.
know. So I'm gonna actually go over here because I was teaching this to a client just the other day. So this looks a little messy, but it will not be messy when I walk you through it. Can you see pretty much of it?
Yep, go down a little bit or
Yep.
go
Okay.
your camera up.
This way?
Actually, no,
Up
camera
a
up.
little this
There you
way?
go. There you go.
Okay. So I'm going to start with this process because once upon a time, by the way, this is years and years ago, I had somebody work on me before I knew much of anything. And she goes, oh, and I just did some lineage release on you. And I'm like, what does that mean? And I didn't feel anything. And I thought it was kind of silly and stupid. And I'm like, that's kind of dumb. And now that I do it, it isn't dumb. This is actually, you don't necessarily feel it or see it in the moment in time, but it is an energetic release that's super, super powerful. So let me play it out for you. So this is the human existence of Kim. Let's say I'm going to pretend you have a lot of abuse in your family just because we'll use your name.
Yeah.
So this is Kim, okay? These are all the fractal sides of Kim, but this is the side that she doesn't talk about. This is the side where she had abuse in her family, okay? And I circle this because this is something that will be devastating for you in terms of recreation or I have to hide this. It's the family secret, okay? So it's very dark and dense energy, and a lot of people don't even bring it up or talk about it because we've had these instances in time where that wasn't acceptable, and it was acceptable for grandpa to do such and such or great grandpa or Uncle Joe or whatever, right? I mean, it's just been disgusting over the years. So this is always hidden and heavy and dark for your incarnations, fractals of who and what she is. Why this is important is for you to work on this, is because when this gets released in this incarnation, this represents my silver cord. This line of energy right here represents what's called my silver cord. And I'm going to make it red so you can see it. My silver cord is an energetic connection to my higher self or a version of my higher soul. Okay. And these little tentacles coming out of there are my other lifetimes, past life, past life, past life, etc. Oftentimes, when I am down here having abuse, there will be a past life that matches that abuse.
Okay.
because it's a karmic return. Maybe you abuse me, now I abuse you. That was the old kind of karma. We no longer necessarily do that flipping and flopping, but we're needing to clean all these files out so this doesn't exist anymore. This bullshit of you are the bad guy, now I'm the bad guy. You are the good guy, now it's just been silly.
Mhm.
And it's been detrimental to the ascension of souls in between lifetimes, much less down here. And so we get to clear all of this now because we have access to it. Understand this was not able to access before because the negative agenda had us shut down in our matrix of where we could traverse energy. And a lot of energy workers that work in the matrix have opened up these channels of energy, and our earth itself is opening up channels of energy so that we can clear all of this crap. Okay.
Which is just fascinating. I mean,
Yeah.
that's like
This
thousands
is
of
why
years.
people don't understand how important it is that they're on planet right now. This is crazy. And
Mhm.
instead of being stuck in your abuse, this is and victimized in your abuse. Woe is me, we have all this crap and this garbage. It's like, no, this is the empowerment time. This is like this no longer is allowed. So again, I have the abuse down here in this incarnation because through the silver cord, this is my place where I traverse other lifetimes, where I dream, space, blah, blah. I will have a shadow element most likely of that because that's how that works. Now, when I go higher than this is the square one is my lineage line, my biology, my family. And oftentimes, if I've got it here and I've got it here, obviously I'm going to have it here, here, and here. So here's great grandma's abuse. Here's Uncle Joe, da da da. Okay. So
Mhm.
it's really important to understand in this lineage area in my family biology other incarnations, let's say Uncle Joe again, over here has become a lifetime where he has also had abuse, and now he's Uncle Joe down here. And so we want to get rid of the guilt, the shame, the everything down here, forgiveness, etc., move up to here and forgive so that they all clear out at the same time.
That's
Okay.
right.
So if I, as Kim down here, allow Kim to release this, now this doesn't condone bad behavior. I want to have a caveat here. It doesn't say it's all okay to be, raped and enslaved. That isn't what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we forgive the soul contract and the work in a higher zone because we want to offer forgiveness for everyone. The way that works is if I let go of victimhood, if I empower myself and say this is no longer acceptable for me or anyone, if I pray in a way of letting the Akashic, which is way up here, the God source, know that this is not acceptable for anyone that is female, much less or male, because rape is not just female male, right? I mean, this is not acceptable, period. The more I do that work and take my power back, it kind of washes out of my higher self other past lives and future lives so that I don't have to do that. But when that collapses and moves up here, now the others that have been experiencing that abuse in a family lineage will have different incarnations. I'll come down as grandma having a new life. I'll come down as dad having a new life. These have the opportunity to no longer, as did Uncle Joe, have more lifetimes of abuse because it's gifted in terms of release for the entire lineage line. Does that make sense?
I just it does. It's such a hard concept, but drawing it out really helps to
Yeah.
understand how that works. Um, the when you're go back to when you're talking about how you do this, that you're asking at the higher level, the higher God source to forgive it. I forgive it within me. I forgive it within, anyone in my lineage family and anyone coming forward,
Right.
releasing it. So we talk more about, is there more to talk about there about how to do that?
Well, so again, that doesn't mean that if Uncle Joe comes into another incarnation, that Uncle Joe gets to or not, or chooses or not chooses to release that karma. This incarnation of his biology in our family lineage that then chooses to come into an incarnation individually, I can still choose to have a karmic return, even if it's gifted that I don't have to.
Hmm.
There's nothing about it that says you have to receive the gift. The gift is I no longer, on behalf of myself and this line of lineage, accept this. I no longer will do this karmic return. I will no longer will participate. I release it. And if I release it, those next incarnates that are coming down can also release it. Now, does that mean if Uncle Joe is alive in this lifetime and he abused me when I was 6 and he's 80, does that mean he's just wonderful and fabulous at 80? Hell no. That is still bad behavior that we don't condone, and it doesn't erase that. Where it erases is in between lifetimes when that essence of who Uncle Joe is in a higher form chooses to come in as an incarnation again or not. That's when he or she or whomever has the opportunity to go, wow, that lineage bullshit that we've done for 4 decades in this family no longer needs to be played out over and over and over again, flipping and flopping karma.
That's
Okay.
just, it's amazing that we can do this.
Well, the reason why we can do it, and this might even unleash and boggle you more, the reason why we can do it, and I'm going to tip this up, is because this isn't the end of the flow chart. The end of the flow chart is not biology. Above biology in the so-called flow chart is now I'm in a soul pod. And a soul pod is even bigger than my biology. A soul pod are the people who I know on a soul level. Okay. I may or may not include them in a biology lineage chain. It may be like you and I. I know we're soul pods. We know that. We've known each other inside and out since we knew each other to some degree. That's a soul pod, but you're not a lineage line.
Right.
So it gets bigger. Okay. You froze. I don't
I
know what
know.
happened.
You're gonna have to stop. I'm gonna stop real quick
Ah.
or pause.
So even if you and I are in a soul pod together, it doesn't mean that we're in a lineage together, meaning we're not biologically connected. You're not a sister or mother or an aunt or anything, but we're soul connected, right?
Mhm.
So as we move up this so-called flow chart of how this energy of whatever works, right? This is soul pod, and then we get even bigger to what we would consider a soul essence, which is even more. Every time we're going up the ladder, it gets more and more and more. Every time we go down the so-called ladder of this drawing, it gets more individualized. Okay.
Right.
So, in essence, the reason why I get to gift this is because when we get way up here, Kim, I am Uncle Joe.
Wait.
Okay. Hang
Because
in
it's
here.
it's it's I am Uncle Joe, the essence Uncle Joe.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yes. So
Okay.
I'm not Uncle Joe. That face was precious. That's why I loved. I'll surprise you on these. Because I'm way up here, we're becoming more one unified, 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 unified. And by the time we get to the top, we're all God, right?
Oh yeah, okay. All right.
So the reason I get to gift lineage healing when these channels are now open is because I'm not the essence of Uncle Joe down here in an incarnate situation, individualized or fractaled, but I am the essence of that here.
So when Uncle
Also,
Joe comes back down, or in a new karmic contract.
yeah, let's say Uncle Joe now dies. Let's have him die.
Okay.
He goes back to his higher self and has a new incarnation come from his soul, and now he's Janet. Okay. And now Janet does not have to experience any sexual abuse.
It's a what a wonderful gift. I
She
mean,
doesn't have to have in her soul
yeah.
contract, oh, I've still got lineage lines and lineage and biology and eons of abuse in my family. I don't have to have that in my contract at all. There's freedom here. And the beauty, I was like, how can I possibly say it's okay for Uncle Joe to rape me? That isn't what I'm saying. That is inexcusable. That's why in the individual incarnation, Kim says this is inexcusable. I do not condone the behavior of Uncle Joe, where I actually let it go with forgiveness is up here.
Mhm.
So this madness stops on behalf of the all. I don't condone behavior down here and say that's okay, right?
Right.
Now, take this even farther and it gets even more confusing. So let's say Uncle Joe didn't die yet. Let's say he's still alive and he really is your uncle. Do I have to have a great relationship with him?
Mm,
No,
mm,
that's not necessarily in stone. I can forgive him. This is how people do really crazy forgivenesses for things like you murdered my child and I can forgive you.
yeah.
People can't get their head around that. They're like, what the hell? you murdered my child. I'm forgiving you. Why would you do that? Because it isn't about this, it's about this.
That's
On the level of forgiveness, I'm forgiving the whole structure of what we all signed up for so that we can all learn from this and move forward in love instead of repeating over and over and over the negative agenda.
Mhm.
There was a nefarious reason for this happening, and this is really important for people to understand that we truly do live in Star Wars. We do not understand that this kind of a universe and multiverse out here is zillions of planets and universes and stars and beings and so forth that are literally in situations where things are wanted. And there was a purposeful time way back in our galactic history of when our planet got shut down because a lot of those agendas took over our planet and enslaved the human race to not be powerful because we are one of the most powerful races there is because of our free will. So free will, even though we think we have it, got taken away in a lot of ways by mind programming, mind negative agenda programming and enslavement, and really taking out that mother quotient again, took away our feel centers. We're sentient beings. We are designed to feel. That is our most powerful superpower. When that goes away, I can't feel anything, so I can't discern or judge if this is my truth or not my truth, so therefore I'm programmable. Okay. So
Mhm.
our whole entire structure got programmed, not just us, everything got programmed. So we were taken out of the feel center and we were subjugated to karmic wheel return, meaning I'm going to do something bad to you. Next life, you're going to do something bad to me. Now I'm going to do it back to you in different versions and versions. And these past life tentacles just went on and on and on and on and on with the same bullshit karma of abuse. And it was ridiculous, but it was purposeful. And it was purposeful because if I stay here, I don't evolve here.
Oh, so it keeps you under that karmic umbrella from
Yep,
going back all the way up to your soul pod, to your um
exactly.
essence. Oh my gosh.
And if
Thank
we're
God we're getting off of
powerful,
that wheel.
if we're powerful here,
Yeah.
just think of our incarnate opportunities to change our planet, to change humanity, to change everything. And this is what the ascension process is about, not only our planetary ascension, but ourselves as well.
Mhm.
So, matrix workers go in, and again, I equate it to Jenga a lot. We restructure the Jenga blocks so the wobble in our hologram of all of this is stable. We had reversal programming in all of this. We thought that we had Mother God. No, we didn't. We had a false Mother God. We thought that we even had a male God. No, we had a patriarchal male God, false tyranny God.
Mhm.
Shame, obedience. What the hell is that? I mean, so all of this has been being corrected so that this whole Jenga game here can be more structurally sound. And
Mhm.
as it becomes more structurally sound, we are available and accessing more and more of who and what we are. The amnesia is gone. Now, it's not 100% at all, but we're in the process of that. This is why all of a sudden people are being able to access past life memories more. Now, let's bring that back to abuse. If I remember, let's use you now. We're going to go into you if you don't mind. I'm just throwing it on you, but
Mhm.
Okay, so funny enough, this is the first time that we've been cut off twice in one video,
Yep.
frozen in one video. So I oftentimes have to have a giggle that the powers that be that are not our friends don't want this information out. I know that sounds conspiracy theory, but come on. So Kim is going to be the tech wizard and piece this together there. But if there's a little wiggle factor in here, I think it's because we were talking about the wiggle in the
Yeah.
hologram of creational reality, like the Jenga. And so the Jenga is where I work in terms of the matrix. And there's a lot of energy workers that go into the matrix and find the negative programming, the reversal programming, and the mother God reversal programming was taken care of, like I said, at least 5 years ago, if not more. Now, when we have that trinity of mother, child, father, and we put one in, it's going to rock the boat on these two if these two have been programmed, right? So now, because the mother is becoming stronger and taking her planet back, etc., this is affecting the ripple factor of the Father God. So now the cosmic Father God has been wicked strong within this last year, year and a half. And so this is shaking up everything in the hologram, and we are having more and more access to past lives. So, what we were going to move into before we got cut off is your individual story of remembering past lives can be really disturbing, especially when it comes to being female in the womb and birthing and abuse and loss. And we have worked off and on with you over the years because you, as an individual incarnate, has had access to some of these things with past life expressions of losing children in birth. Do you want to kind of go into that just a smidge and give a little kind of synopsis?
Yeah, I think through many different healing sessions, different types of modalities, it became it was interesting how much death is in my family lineage over time. Baby death, children, or, miscarriages, all of those things. And so I think, and it became really a past life for me was working with you, Suzanne, where I had been raped and then my baby was taken. And there was such a big, like, it was just such a emotional, um, just horrible situation. And so working with understanding that there's just so much in the lineage and another thing is I did some genealogy healing, and in that it showed how many different children or babies miscarriages were through my genealogy. Um, anyway, so part of that was to go back and actually do this type of healing. One, the forgiveness piece of it. Two, I did prayer around, the forgiveness, but also gifting and healing the lineage line.
Hmm.
And so that we could remove this, going forward, especially for a future lineage.
Right.
And so I did a whole water healing with this. I took, it was jars. I think I've talked about this before in another podcast, but fill some water, tap water into the jars, and within each one, putting intentions within those jars around the baby death and the different types of situations, and then did a prayer and went to the lake and released all of that water through talking through that prayer back into a lake, and so that it could disperse and move on, and be released.
And
And
let me jump in quick. Let me jump in and clarify. This is not a baby death that you had in Kim's incarnation sitting here in this body. This is a past life that you were clearing that then goes from here up into here. So I want to make sure that they're knowing that why this happened to Kim is oftentimes if we have a past life, say this is the one that has that baby death, what will happen instead of the information coming down and through the nucleus of the soul and coming down and through the silver cord as information only to Kim, it somehow got into her auric field this way, and it's a bypass system, which means I carry all that grief.
yeah.
It affects my body, it affects my emotions, and this is really detrimental and really difficult way to hold a past life memory. And a lot of times, people that do past life regressions with people that aren't very skilled, let's just say, this can make even more of a mess. We don't want to do it that way. We want to always have information come only like a PDF file. I can't adjust it. I don't get the emotion. So that's why she's saying she was able to go all the way back up. So, and water again is because the sacral and the flow of the woman and the water is the clearing. So, okay, I
Mhm.
just wanted to add that in. Make sure
Yeah,
people
no,
didn't think it was verbatim.
it's really such a it was an amazing experience to do this. I did lose a sister. My mom lost
Yep.
a baby and lost a sister. So though in my lifetime, that was where the sadness sat, I think,
Yep.
in my energy field. But then to go into the past life and there was, more and the trauma that went with that, it was just really important for me to release that energy back up.
Because the emotions were so strong in you
Oh,
because the tentacle had gone the wrong way and it gets very confusing. And then I can sadly keep such grief with my sister because it's mixed up with the grief of the other life and it just doesn't let you move forward. So it gets really messy.
Yeah, and I actually, both of my grandmothers lost babies, and especially my dad's mom. And there were visits after that of just gratitude and love. Like there was just an overwhelming sense of love from just my immediate grandmothers that had passed. So it's um it's such a hard concept, but at the same time it's not. You know what I mean? Like explaining the levels and how it all connects and all of the things. But then going through a healing process, it can be, fairly simple,
It is.
especially.
It's so simple, it's almost unbelievable. So let's take your situation and put it back up at your lineage. And your lineage was caught in a loop pattern of losing, abandonment, abusive in terms of you don't get to procreate, we're limiting you. All of those things is what yours. So this is the great grandmas and the whatever that then are popping down to all of these lifetimes, and they're still creating it and still creating. So it's still the same that we were talking about in the loop pattern. I keep doing it, I keep doing it, I keep doing it. Now, there's also co-contracts with the other baby that miscarries. I'm not going to come in, I'm not going to come in. So this is going to unleash and even confuse you more. When we sometimes have the baby that doesn't come in, the essence of that baby may be over here saying, I'm already trying to break the madness by not coming in.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense to me because I didn't know this, but I had an early miscarriage between children.
Yeah,
That came out of a healing session too. So that is so fascinating to me because I never knew to
yeah,
even acknowledge that essence, right? Like,
yeah.
and so that sits, with your energy.
Right.
Um, yeah. And so acknowledging that baby and even putting a name to that baby was really important for this process,
Okay.
for me
Yeah.
anyway.
So again, miscarriages aren't always what we think they are.
Mm-mm.
I mean, it's really important to give that knowing that that miscarriage comes from all the way up here, which is a piece of me too, before we fractal.
Right.
So when we go this way, it's a fractalization into individuals, individuals, individuals. And it used to be really the loop, the loop, the loop of karma with everybody, especially when we've got sexual abuse up here and rape. And so this is to keep the submissive mothering. You can't procreate. You don't get to. You're not good enough. You have no voice. You're not seen. All of that was the loop pattern for so many years. And so women are still, and let's look at it collectively. Let's look at the countries like, the Irans and the Iraqs and all of the places where women are still so beaten down, and the Africas and all of our globe is starting to go no, 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 and no. So this automatic loop pattern of keeping the women in a different frequency is not being acceptable anymore. And most of this is happening because our planet is also changing. The mother God is taking her baby back. This is
Mhm.
her baby. Mother Earth is mother God's baby. It's a creation. It came from her so-called womb, and it is unacceptable. You don't get my child. And so we're releasing a lot of karma in our planet too, where all of these horrific things have happened to women. I mean, think of it. The planet itself feels the horror. The planet itself has a record of when somebody's being stolen and abused and killed on behalf of really ridiculous things and even religions. I mean, this is just, satanic abuse is ridiculously disgusting. So these are energetic files that are in our whole entire planetary system that are being released. This is huge work. And people aren't even aware of it. But what I want to point out is it's actually good work in that it's coming forward. People don't like to think about gross and disgusting actions by humans,
Mhm.
but we are seeing more and more of it because it is taking the veil off of the falseness. It is showing the ugly monster behind the curtain. And so the best thing one can do is not ever close down. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to see that. We did a podcast on I do not consent.
Mhm.
You don't have to consent to any of that. You don't have to ever consent to Uncle Joe. Where we forgive is up here.
Mhm.
Where we let this out is up here. Where we talk to the source energy on this is not acceptable any longer is up here. And if you want to do it here, great. If that works out for you before Uncle Joe's on his deathbed and you get an apology, more power to you if that's your thing. But it doesn't need to happen.
Right. Right. And
So,
that I think that's confusing for a lot of people. That's why the forgiveness doesn't happen to start with.
yeah.
Because you think it has to be with that individual face to face, and it
Yeah.
doesn't.
And it doesn't. And really work upward. And in Uncle Joe's case, if I can't face to face talk to Uncle Joe and forgive and deal or even say things, go from your lower self, which isn't appropriate wording, but I'm going to use it for now, lower self to his higher self, meaning work with his higher soul where you actually contracted to be involved here.
Mhm.
Okay. So this is where we release it, which then releases it here and here and here. So the release is for myself on behalf of the higher lineage, and then lineage all becomes one eventually. So by doing it, I'm doing it for me. I'm doing my work. And then it is automatically gifted to those that fractal off into other incarnations. And again, I'm going to tell you, this doesn't wipe out karma. Karma is not wiped out because karma is another word for cause and effect, which is a universal law. So even if I wipe out lineage and Uncle Joe comes down here, he can still choose in between lifetimes to have a karmic return for his actions to say you. Okay. So he can still come in another incarnation right here as Janet, who somehow, some way comes into your life or a version of your fractalized life to make peace in some other way or whatever. There's still an ability for him to come through in an incarnation fractal to release that karma if he so chooses in between lives.
Gosh, it's it's so worth it. So talk more about so individually we talked about how to do this, but if you don't know of anything within your lineage abuse wise or whatever that is, what can we do for the one, for the all?
The really great thing is to just sit there and not ignore the horror of rape and pillage and death and satanic ritual. Again, look up that. I don't know what it's called, our video on that, but I remember I do not consent was part of it. And people were awesome on the comments. They were literally writing, I do not consent in big capitals. That is such a powerful stance of intention to just sit with the concept and really be courageous enough to go into the horrors
Mm.
of what women have endured over the eons. I mean, look at even the witch hunts. Look at look at making women sterile in other countries. Look at how our wombs have been ripped out because, the male patriarchy was going to control something. And I mean, look at how the church has put women on a different level. I mean, it's in every facet of who and what we are.
Mhm.
And this is not acceptable anymore. The actual energy of God source is an even triad of father, mother, child. It has to have a sacred marriage of father and mother to have the child energy. It is a split, dualistic, positive, negative energy that comes to a neutral. It is an evenness of co-creation, and we don't understand how tricked we've been for so long.
I know.
So it's sitting, literally sitting with the concept and the idea that we've been jacked on this planet. And why this is so important is, I have my Vibe Tribe membership and I do some really big deep training on our webcasts. And I encourage people, if this is the kind of thing you like, get on Vibe Tribe because I teach like this every single month almost. And we just taught the gender principle last month. Every single human being, no matter what sex you're sitting here in, has male and female energy, no matter. And it is important for us to understand that so that we have a sacred marriage of male and female within us. This is critical because this is what puts the hologram back together eventually. We all have male and female to move the energy. That's how it works. We need both of those to find the neutral to expand. So when we sit with just the horrors of women, whether I'm even a male or a female, or watch things in politics or in entertainment or the crap that is coming out with, the P. Diddy's and the Disney, kids thing and just all of that, instead of doing this, sit with that concept of how horrific it is and send back to source energy. I do not consent. This is unacceptable. Even me as a mother, I can imagine how horrific a child experience would be. I get to send that out. I get to send that out. So instead of running from it and hiding from it, jump into it, feel it, and release it. And you release tears and water. I'm a huge burner. And so when I do this kind of release on my clients, I do the energy work on the table, and then I will oftentimes take my shell and sage and I sit under my ceiling fan and I just hold the sage up there. And every time it cuts, I'm cutting lineage, cut, 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 cut. And it's fascinating to watch because the stream of smoke will just disperse. And it's a great visual for you to just go, oh, that went to the Akash. Oh, that went to their record. Oh, that went to my lineage or whatever. It's a beautiful kind of visual aid to be able to just let it go.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
I know you do this. I've seen you do it. I didn't think of it that way though.
it's awesome.
Yeah. So can I ask, with all of this going on, and because, with Mother God coming back in 5 years ago, and that people have been working on this and releasing and doing the things, are children coming in a different place, like without that karmic baggage? Is that
Yeah.
how we start to grow this society of, you know, that is more light, love, and all of the things that you,
Yes,
okay.
very much so. So let's do it again. If this is all released and I don't have to have any of that, oftentimes and again, this is my opinion, okay? But
Yeah.
oftentimes I'm understanding now that we're skipping a lot of this crap and a lot of these babies are coming in from soul essence and just coming in.
Okay.
A lot of them are
It's more
skipping a
pure.
lot. Yeah, a lot of them are coming down from, and this is the starseed races too. There's a lot of starseed races that, yes, I have a family biology, but do I really? I probably came straight from here into an incarnation. And yes, I'm going to pick up attributes from my biology, but it's more socialization biology attributes than it is even here. Do you see what I'm saying? So
Right.
a lot of the starseeds are coming in from soul essences because they've got work to do down here. So they're much more clear and they have no karma, hardly anything in terms of, oh shit, I got to do that. I got to clear that. I'm dealing with this. And their biology will be different. Their bodies will be different. They won't be holding even things. Now, remember, this isn't just sexual abuse. This is things like, we all have heart disease, you
Mhm.
know. Every one of us died at 40 from heart disease. Well, okay, get rid of that. This is why it's critical for people to understand you are in control of your soul's contracts. You are the one that keeps saying, okay, again and again and again, we're all going to die of heart disease at 40. Well, you come in and be the one that says, no, I'm going to live until 80 and my heart is fine. So when we succumb to the madness of lineage, I cannot tell you how many people go, well, my mom and dad had that. I'm going to get it. Well, of course you're going to get it because you just created it.
Just created it. Yep.
We all have diabetes. Well, aren't you going to be the one that doesn't? So these are things that we actually have control of. And this is why the negative agenda didn't want us to remember how powerful we are, because then we're not going to buy their medicine. And then
Right.
we're not going to go into their fat program. And then we're not going to go and take our diabetes protocol. I mean, this is empowerment. And that's why the negative agenda is freaking out right now, because it's like we're starting to go, oh, you mean I don't have to believe that?
Yep.
And that's the agitation that we're seeing in the world. So please do not confuse the chaos of all the crap that we're dealing with as completely fear-based, because this is the disassembling of a lot of the reversal in the Jenga that is now being put back together. It has to crumble.
It does have to crumble.
And
And
look who's behind the curtain in everything. Look who is really behind it. Follow the money, follow the bullshit, follow the program. I
Mhm.
told a client the other day, just get another bowl of popcorn, sit back with a beer and watch it happen, because that's what this is about, instead of getting so wrapped up that I have no control.
Yeah.
And so these are really important things. Now, I want to really round down with the concept of this back when I went and I saw that lady and she said, I cleared your lineage. Me as a client, really ignorant way back when, before I even did any of this, went, yeah, okay. And I'm like, I don't know if she did or not, right? So this is not something necessarily that you are done with your healing or you're done putting water into the lake and you just go, oh my God, my life has rainbows and bunnies now,
No, 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 no.
right? So, can you maybe address how it did indeed show up differently in your life in any factor? Or was it just a trust factor?
It was trust for sure. But there was also a lightness that I felt with it in my
Right.
energy, in doing that. So, but it wasn't something that just showed immediately, like in my family or anything
Right.
like that. It's not a physical, thing that I can touch or say has
Yep.
happened since then.
And this is the difficulty in this.
Mhm.
So, this is where it gets hard because humans, again, have been programmed since day one with a thought process of it has to be tangible and it has to be right in front of my face to be believable.
Right.
I really don't know if grandpa's okay. Oh my God, that cardinal's just flapping at me right when I thought about him. How could that possibly be my grandpa? That's stupid. That's a bird. I'm so dumb. I can't believe that. Or, oh my God, I just thought of grandpa and now the cardinal's flapping in my face. That's so cool. Hey, grandpa. Those are the choices, right?
Right.
So we are so ignorant to the concept of creational reality and holographic that we can't get our heads around these things. So again, if you're listening to this and it doesn't make sense, then you're not ready for that, and that's okay.
Mhm.
And if you have a different belief system, awesome. But these are really tough subjects for us because we've been dummied down so much with this process that we don't remember who we are because we haven't had access to the hierarchy of who and what that energy is.
Okay.
So it is trust. But trust me, when you trust, you co-create in what you want versus what you don't. And so those are all empowered stages of changing who and what you are and how you experience.
Yeah, and I think for me, I was opening up my heart, not listening to my brain, the logical part of my brain as much, and experiencing those little surprises and miracles along the way. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? It's like when you say the cardinal, it's like, oh my gosh, there you are. Wow,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
great. And sometimes I'll ask for signs. I ask 3 times, and then
Yep.
something will pop up. It's like, okay, got
And
it.
remember, stay out of the control factor of even gifting lineage. Let's go back here that says Kim clears hers, but Kim has a biological daughter that didn't choose maybe to have that situation because maybe later in life something does happen to her.
Mhm.
And Kim doesn't get to sit here and go, but I cleared all that karma for the family. What is going on here? And think I'm a failure because it doesn't work like that. That daughter gets to continue that for her own cause and effect if she chooses, just like Uncle Joe did or didn't. So remember, there's no control factors on this thing. It's gifting with no condition attached and release. That's how this works. Because if you have an attachment to it, then your ego's in there and it's the frequency is not correct. So
Great.
that's why this is tough.
It is tough. And it's, like I said, it's such a complicated as you're going through it, but then it's not.
Yeah,
I think just understanding and there are different things out there to read about forgiving because that's not easy to do.
right.
And when you talk about how to forgive and you don't have to be face to face, you're still forgiving, that situation or that trauma or whatever it is. Um, it's good. It feels good.
And the forgiveness process still gets to be very human if it needs to be. Meaning, I still get to punch a pillow. I still get to yell at Uncle Joe, even though I can't see him because he's dead. I still get to, be really angry and frustrated. But the difference is, as I move through that, I no longer hang on to that. It doesn't mean that I don't have the human expression of hurt and anger and outburst. If I hang on to that, that turns into dis-ease. Therefore, forgiveness happens differently.
Mhm.
I expel and expound all that. In fact, it's critical that I do that because I want that frequency to go all the way up to here, if not here, so that we know that's unacceptable,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
If I keep it down here in secret, it always gets to be acceptable because no one shows it to the big picture to say, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that, right? So by keeping it secret down here, that was the nefarious agenda. Keep it secret, keep it to yourself, don't heal. We'll come back and do it again and again. That was the loop pattern. So
Shame,
again,
guilt, all
forgive,
the things.
yeah.
Oh, oof.
Forgiveness is the key to empowerment, really. And again, we're not forgiving the actions down here in fractalization. We're forgiving, I'm no longer doing that as a collective. This is ridiculous. We're moving forward in love because, in essence, I am Uncle Joe eventually, and I no longer allow myself to be fractaled like that. So it's just so big. I really suggest people maybe listen to this twice if it's
Yeah,
confusing or 4 times, because it is very, very difficult. And again, if it doesn't resonate, that's just fine too.
yeah, yeah. I think
Yeah.
that this can be taught several times along the way as well in different situations that will
Yep.
ring true for different people in different ways. So,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
it's a good one.
Sit with it if you
Yeah.
choose. Okay. And hey, if you want to share this one just to confuse your family and friends, that's great too. Hit the like button or the share button and maybe the subscribe and maybe leave a comment.
There
Okay.
you
All
go.
right. Till next, Cosmic Hugs.
Goodbye.